This is FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast.
FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. Get ready for the latest in film news, TV show news, and theatrical reviews. FilmBook's podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to FilmBookCast, the official podcast of FilmBook. My name is Chris Banks. If you're tuning in for the first time, what I do on FilmBookCast, I discuss the latest film and TV show news. I also review an in-theater film sometimes. You can find more about FilmBookCast on film-book.com by using the search term FilmBookCast. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com with FilmBookCast in the subject line. Let's jump right into it this week. This week in movie news, Warner Brothers has won the rights to The Executioner, an upcoming action film starring Jason Momoa, according to Deadline this week. The film was acquired after what Deadline calls an intense bidding war, with Warner Brothers eventually coming out on top. Although the storyline has been kept under wraps, it'll be written by Kaz and Ryan Firpo of Eternals, and is being billed as a fun action murder mystery that combines the feels of Knives Out with Lord of the Rings. No other actor or director has been attached to the project yet. We'll keep up with news about The Executioner. Some more movie news from this week. Fans of the Fast and Furious franchise are probably well aware by now that director Justin Lin stepped away from the franchise and announced that he's no longer directing Fast 10. The Hollywood Reporter reported this week that the reason for the split is actually because the studio and Diesel would constantly come in and change Lin's script, cutting key locations in Eastern Europe, possibly conflicting with the ongoing war in Ukraine. It's reported that the director tried to draw lines in the sand. A major disagreement between the director and Diesel led to a four-person meeting occurring with the studio when the director finally decided that the movie was not worth my mental health, the Hollywood Reporter reported. We'll keep up with news about who's going to replace Lin as the director of Fast 10, but disappointing news about the seemingly broken relationship between Justin and Vin Diesel. Finally this week, according to Bloody Disgusting, Michael Chavis is returning to the Conjuring universe. He's set to direct Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema's long-in-development The Nun sequel. It's still untitled, but it'll be a follow-up to The Nun and a screenplay written by Richard Nang and Ian Goldberg. All the details and characters are being tightly kept under wraps, and production is expected to begin later on this year. We'll keep up with news about the Nun sequel, as I'm sure that all fans of the Conjuring universe are wondering what this is going to be about. We'll keep up with news about it. This week in TV news, FX has rounded out the cast of its upcoming follow-up series, Justified City Primeval, and it sports some familiar names. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the cast members include Anjou Ellis, Boyd Holbrook, Vondi Curtis Hall, Martin Ireland, Norbert Leo Boots, Victor Williams, Vivian Oliphant. They'll join previously announced cast member Timothy Oliphant in the upcoming limited series, which has been rumored to be directed by legendary filmmaker Quentin Tarantino. It picks up with Givens 8 years after he left Kentucky behind. He now lives in Miami, balancing his life as a U.S. Marshal and a part-time father of a 14-year-old girl. His hair is grayer, his hat is dirtier, and the road in front of him is suddenly a lot shorter than the road behind. A chance encounter on a desolate Florida highway sends him to Detroit. There he crosses with Clement Menzel, aka the Oklahoma Wildman, a violent sociopathic desperado who's already slipped through the fingers of Detroit's finest once and aims to do so again. Menzel's lawyer, formidable Motor City native Carolyn Wilder, has every intention of representing her client even if she finds herself caught in between a cop and criminal. The series will be written and executive produced by Dave Andron, Michael Diner, Taylor Elmore, and Chris Provenzano. We'll keep up with news about Justified City Primeval, as I'm sure we'll get more news. Another bit of TV news that was interesting that dropped this week, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau has joined the cast of Apple TV's upcoming limited series, The Last Thing He Told Me. He'll star opposite of Jennifer Gardner. He'll play character Owen, the husband of Gardner's character, who has mysteriously disappeared. It's unclear just how much he'll be in the series, but we'll keep up with news about the Reese Witherspoon-produced series for Apple TV+. Some more exciting TV news, Warner Brothers seems to be all in on the Batman universe. The studio greenlit a sequel to Matt Reeves' 3-hour vision of the DC Dark Knight, and it's hoping to expand the universe even further with the HBO Max spin-off starring Colin Farrell's Penguin. It's set to begin filming June 15th, as a production listing that leaked this week pointed plainly to the shoot date starting June 15th. The show is set to show the Penguin's rise to power over time, likely with an ending that leads right into the character we already saw on the silver screen. Upon the initial announcement of the series, Colin expressed his eagerness to return to the role following the film. He said, quote, "I couldn't be more excited about continuing the exploration of Oz as he rises through the darkened ranks to become the Penguin. It will be good to get him back on the streets of Gotham for a little madness and a little mayhem," end quote. While Warner Brothers is eager to expand this new version of Gotham City, it's unclear how Robert Pattinson's Batman will link up to the rest of the DC Comics film slate. We'll keep up with news as filming begins soon on the first spin-off of the Batman universe. Let's switch up gears and check out some news from the international film market this week. Set in the chaotic final days of World War II, The Prominence, an upcoming film starring Thomas Kretschmann and directed by Peter Weber, follows a group of Nazi Germany's most prominent prisoners as they are transported across Europe out of Allied reach to be used as bargaining chips in the German surrender. On their journey, they endure aerial attacks, collapsing bridges, partisan raids, and the escalating threat of liquidation by their Nazi captors. Kreitzman will star as Bogislav von Bonnen, a German prisoner battling his own demons, complicity in the war's atrocities, and the drug abuse he uses to cope with it. Production is set to begin September of this year in Poland and wrap in northern Italy. The writer stated, quote, "The Prominence is a war movie in the sense that Apocalypse Now is a war movie. The real subject is the primeval darkness within human nature. I am thrilled that the script spoke to Peter Weber and to such an amazing ensemble of actors, and saddened that the material remains so relevant today." Some more news from the international film market. John Cleese and Fortunato Serlino have been confirmed as a supporting cast for Roman Polanski's new movie The Palace, which is in production in Switzerland. The drama is set on New Year's Eve 1999 in a luxurious hotel, sees the lives of hotel workers and various guests intertwine. The script comes from Polanski and fellow Polish veteran Jerzy Skolimska. The project was first announced last year by Italian broadcasters. Polanski comes with a laundry list of films and controversies. The last bit of international news we'll check out this week highlights the differences between what governments are doing around the world to start regulating streaming platforms. In the UK, they're set to be regulated like linear broadcasters for the first time under the UK's new plan of white paper policy. So Netflix, Disney, and Amazon are set to be regulated for the first time in history. They aren't currently subject to broadcasting code in the United Kingdom, and the changes would require video-on-demand services to ensure their audiences are protected from harmful or offensive material. And that principles on fairness, accuracy, and privacy, something that I hope this country learns from quickly. That's it for the international film news for this week. Now let's check out some DVD home releases from this week. Moonfall is now available on DVD. When the moon seems to no longer be able to maintain its orbit around the Earth, a former NASA astronaut and current executive, Jo Fowler, believes she might be the world's only hope to solve the mystery in the weeks left before the annihilation of all life on the planet. Yet, Jo can't convince anyone in power to listen to her. With no other options, she seeks the aid of Casey Houseman, a conspiracy theorist, and trusted fellow astronaut Brian Harper. After she receives approval to take her team to the moon to learn more, she and the whole of humanity are shocked by what they discover just below the surface. Moonfall is now available on DVD. Locked Down is now available on DVD. A couple tries a daring, high-checking burglary of jewelry from a store. The two attempt to cope with their new situations as COVID-19 spreads around the world. The husband is sacked from his job while the wife is downsizing her company so they can save money. The husband, through his boss, agrees to work to transport materials and goods during the lockdown using a counterfeit identity. The protagonists are not happy with the state of life, so they develop a strategy to steal an expensive diamond from the store to become wealthy. Locked Down is now available on DVD. Superintelligence is now available on DVD. After leaving her life as a corporate executive, Carol Peters spends her days plotting to regain the affections of her ex-boyfriend. With her former existence in shambles, Carol finds herself leading a humdrum life until her household appliances begin criticizing her with sarcastic comments. Carol flops between her fear that she's having a breakdown and her suspicion that she's been subject of an elaborate practical joke. She soon finds her life taken over by a sinister artificial intelligence who is intent upon destroying humankind and taking over the world. Superintelligence is now available on DVD. That's it from home release. This week in movie trailers, Universal Pictures dropped the official Easter Sunday trailer for its forthcoming family comedy starring stand-up comedian Joe Coy. It features a Filipino-American comic as he brings his son to a family gathering to celebrate Easter Sunday with his extended family. The film will be in theaters August 5th, and it reminds me of all the best, comedy films of the early 2000s. Joe Coy stars as a man returning home for an Easter celebration with his bickering, eating, drinking, loving, laughing family in this love letter to his Filipino-American community, reads the synopsis. Tiffany Haddish is also in the film, and check out the trailer. It'll be in theaters August 5th. One of the most captivating trailers I've ever seen, really. It comes to us from Universal Pictures, and it's the latest trailer of Blumhouse's highly anticipated horror thriller, The Black Phone, starring Ethan Hawke. The film will be arriving in theaters on June 24th. And the trailer, again, it's creepy, it's captivating, it's haunting. Ethan Hawke seems like he's going to give one of the most memorable performances of his career. The film tells the story of Finney Shaw, a shy but clever 13-year-old who is abducted by a sadistic killer and trapped in a soundproof basement. When a disconnected phone on the wall begins to ring, he discovers that he can hear voices of the killer's previous victims, and they are dead set on making sure that what happened to them doesn't happen to Finney. Directed by Scott Derrickson, The Black Phone will be in theaters June 24th. Check out the newest trailer from The Black Phone. We got the star-studded official trailer for the conclusion of the epic Jurassic Park franchise with Jurassic World Dominion. It's set to be the summer blockbuster out on June 10th of this year. This summer experienced the epic conclusion of the Jurassic era as two generations unite for the first time. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are joined by Oscar winner Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and Sam Neill in Jurassic World Dominion, a bold, timely, and breathtaking new adventure that spans the globe. It takes place 4 years after Isla Nublar has been destroyed. Dinosaurs now live and hunt alongside humans all over the world. It's a fragile balance that will reshape the future and determine once and for all whether human beings are to remain the apex predator on a planet they now share with history's most fearsome creatures. Check out the trailer for Jurassic World Dominion. Debut in theaters June 10th. That's it for film trailers for this week. This week in TV trailers, we get treated to the glorious return of Mike Myers this week in the upcoming trailer for the Pentaverate. It's a new series that'll debut on Netflix May 5th. Mike Myers plays 8 different characters, and he has some star-studded help, including King Jong, Keegan-Michael Key, Debbie Mazur, Richard McCabe, Jennifer Saunders. Rob Lowe is also in the trailer. Check out the trailer for the Pentaverate. It'll debut on Netflix May 5th. Surprise, surprise. Cobra Kai is switching up its usual release pattern of going with New Year's Eve weekend to drop new batches of the series, and instead, Netflix is taking advantage of the super speed at which the show shot and wrapped Season 5. Cobra Kai Season 5 will return to Netflix on September 9th. Following the shocking results of the All Valley tournament, Terry Silver is expanding the Cobra Kai empire and trying to make his No Mercy style of karate the only game in town. With Kreese behind bars and Johnny Lawrence setting karate aside to focus on repairing the damage he's caused, Daniel LaRusso must call on an old friend for help. The teaser trailer unveils the aftermath of the franchise's most dastardly villain, Terry Silver, as he makes good on his threat to open up a zillion Cobra Kai schools after a rather shocking results of the El Valley tournament. It sure looks like Tori will have to reckon with the unintended results of Silver paying off a judge to make a biased call. And everyone is wondering where the hell Miguel went, while it ain't good for Kreese. In the meantime, Daniel and Johnny have shuttered their own dojos, and you know that won't last for long because Shozen is on the scene, and as he tells Silver here, he's the gasoline to the villain's fire. Check out the teaser trailer for Season 5 of Cobra Kai. It'll debut on Netflix September 9th. Another TV trailer that dropped this week, HBO revealed a bunch of character posters and a trailer for the upcoming Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon. The series will debut on HBO Max August 21st. It'll chronicle the rise and downfall of the Targaryens, who are the only family of dragon lords to survive the doom of Valyria. It'll take place 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones. Check out the trailer for House of the Dragon. It'll debut on HBO Max August 21st. All right. Time to review You Are Not My Mother. Directed by Kate Dolan, it's a horror movie set in Northern Ireland. It's the week before Halloween. Char's bedridden mother, Angela, has mysteriously gone missing. All that remains is her abandoned car parked in the middle of a field. When Angela returns home to their North Dublin estate the following evening without any explanation, it becomes clear to Char and her grandmother Rita that something is amiss. She might look and sound the same, but Angela's behavior has become increasingly erratic and frightening, as if she's been replaced by a malevolent force. As Halloween approaches, a night steeped in ancient Irish myth and legend, Char must unearth the dark secrets of her family in order to uncover the truth behind her mother's disappearance and save her, even if it means potentially losing her forever. Char is played by Hazel Dupe, her brother Aaron is played by Paul Reed, her grandmother is played by Ingrid Craigie, and Char's mother Angela is played by Carolyn Bracken. You Are Not My Mother is a smart, sharp, but ultimately unsatisfying horror movie. I appreciated the way in which it was made. At the beginning of the movie, there is a lot of intrigue, and the beginning of the movie builds suspense well, I think. Characters are interesting. We don't really get told what is going on, so you have to kind of follow along at the beginning of the movie, and it's actually the way that the movie burns. But considering that it is supposed to be a smart horror movie, and I just read the plot synopsis, I expected a lot more in the build-up to the story. You know, my main criticism of these new films that try to be smart and make meta points or use images or cut frames to really tell a story is that you lose a lot of context or meaning in the buildup of a story. And I bought into this movie within 20 minutes. I was really into what is happening here. You know, what's up with Shard? What's up with the mum, really? You know, I love Rita as a character. She's really a grounding force in the story, and she's someone who gives the story a consistency in a way. But I just feel like some of these movies that try to be so smart end up missing really important turns and steps in order to bring the audience along to a story that I think should have been deeper. You know, my main criticism of You Are Not My Mother is that I get lost sometimes, or I have questions sometimes, or I don't really understand why something is happening. And there's not really good context within the story to help the audience, to help explain to the audience, you know, why we missed a particular thing or where this came from or why she's doing this. But ultimately, that's my only criticism of the film. The acting is tremendous. It's a really, really well acted movie, and the plot, the idea of it is really good. And I think my disappointment within the film is just grounded. I think my biggest criticism of the film is just that, you know, is losing a little bit of the buildup of the story and certain, you know, contextual elements that would have made an audience member, you know, even deeper within the story in the buildup of, you know, what's happening in the film. You know, that's really my macro criticism of these newer movies who tried to, on a lower budget, really be smart, and some of them really accomplish what they set out to do. And I think that You Are Not My Mother did accomplish what Kate Dolan maybe set out to do, because it's a solid movie. It's just that I'm criticizing it because this is a movie review, and I think if they did a little more plot development or a little less, you know, tricks with the camera and actually tell that story in a deeper way, I just think that I would have liked it even more, you know. So that's really my only criticism of the film. The actors do an incredible job. Hazel Dupe is a tremendous actor. Her brother, played by Paul Reed, does an incredible job as well. But Ingrid Craigie plays Rita, the grandmother, and she's an amazing force in the movie, and Carolyn Bracken, who plays the mother Angela, unbelievable acting job, really amazing work, and overall the film is very well done. It's just that I do have my criticisms of these, movies, these smart horror movies or whatever, but that's really my only criticism of the film. I definitely think it's worth a watch. If you're a horror movie fan, definitely watch You Are Not My Mother. There's a grounded story within this film that's really good. The way in which they use the title is really cool. It's not a waste of your time. It's only about 90 minutes. Check it out if you're into horror, if you like these actors. It's a very well acted film. I would give it a 7 out of 10, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Could also give it a 6.5 out of 10, but it's not a bad movie. Definitely check out You Are Not My Mother, and I hope you like it as much as I did. Thanks so much for checking out this review. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of FilmBookCast. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search for Chris Banks or FilmBookCast. You can also find me on Twitter at cbanksy, S-E-E Banksy. I'm also on Instagram at The Chris Banks. If you listen to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode. If you're listening to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FilmBook Podcast, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment in the comment section. It really helps people discover our podcast. Please also consider becoming one of our patrons on patreon.com/filmbook. Your support helps us create more engaging content. You'll find our Patreon link below in the description. If you want to tweet about this podcast, just use the hashtag FilmBookCast. Tune in next week for the next episode of the FilmBookCast. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you then.